But mainly what's been happening to this in the last year is I've been putting in the new Kinect. So this is the Kinect V2 that comes with the Xbox One. And so the wonderful thing about this for me is that it can detect hand pose, which means that I put my hand up and I hold it up and it makes a little hand icon. It can see that I've got my hand up. And what happens now is I can sing into the microphone and close my fist. And as I close my fist, it's going to record me both video and audio. And when I let go, it's going to start playing that back. Now that one didn't sound too good, so I'll take that one out. So the basic idea is that opening your hand kind of gets its attention, and then you close your hand to record, and then you can kind of put yourself down all over the screen. And then you can point. Pointing is kind of like right-clicking in a way. So now you can see that it's got this little arrow. That's basically like right-click cursor. And now while I'm pointing, if I make a fist, that mutes. So I can take sounds and kind of mix them in and out by pointing at them. If I point at them again and open my hand, then it brings them back in. So I can silence everything and then bring everything back pretty easily. So it's kind of like making a little, orchestra of yourself and then conducting yourself. And what we're seeing there is a different interface that I'll show you. So that's the basic ideas. You can record yourself, you can mute yourself, you can unmute yourself. That's the basics. But the thing about the new Kinect is it can actually only detect 3 different hand positions reliably. It can detect hand open, it can detect hand close, and it can detect pointing. Hand open, hand close, and pointing. Hand open, hand close, and pointing. Which is all very well, but the gesture, that's only 3 gestures, and I just use them all up. Right? I now can, I can record things, I can mute things, I can unmute things, and that's it. So one of the things about this project is that I'm trying to get away, on the one hand, I'm trying to get away from conventional kind of sound interfaces, which are all super, super button heavy. You know, it's like there's all these buttons and devices and things, and you've got to hold really still. You know, you've got to touch things very precisely. And I'm trying to make an interface where you can move around and there's nothing, nothing holding you back at all, and you can kind of work with the performance in a much more free-moving way. So I'm trying to kind of break old patterns and come up with some new intuitions. But at the same time, you can never design something new without kind of reference to what came before. You kind of have to bridge from what was there previously. So anyway, the fist is like left-clicking, and then pointing is like right-clicking. And then what about, like, if you're doing Adobe Illustrator, you're like an expert user. You've got shift right-click and shift left-click. So I needed some kind of richer gesture space. So what I did was I made it so the other hand is kind of like the shift or control key in a way. And so you put your hand on your shoulder, you see the word shoulder sticking on that arm, so you can tell that it recognizes where your hand is. And then you point, and you get a different pop-up menu that basically lets you pick what the pointing gesture is going to do. So the default is mute and unmute, so I'm going to make one little sound, make one little sound. So that's the default, mute and unmute now. And then make one little sound. There's another choice, which is make one little sound. Put some sound effects on it. Make one little sound. So I just put my hand on my shoulder. I picked the effect flange option. Now when I point, make one little sound. Make one little sound. Make one little sound. So you can kind of, so this is kind of like a 2D potentiometer, like on a shoe. So, and that's one thing. Around the bottom here, the gesture recognition gets a little flaky. So, so sometimes you'll see like random copies of me appear down at the bottom of the screen, and that's just because down here it gets touchy. So you kind of have to work with the limitations of the technology at every point, but at least it does what I want it to do right now. So now what I have is I have this on one hand, and then on the other, hand I still have mute and unmute. So this is really an ambidextrous interface that each hand kind of has its own mode. And so I can be, muting and unmuting with this one, and then I can be doing sound effects with the other one. So that is, that's that menu. And then the other thing that you sometimes want is you've recorded a lot of stuff like 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, That's all very well, but I don't want any of that. So I want kind of the system menu. So put my hand on my head, and point, and then I get, this whole. So now I'm going to show you what I am looking at when I'm up here. This is kind of the performer's view. One other aspect of this is that what?
It's called Holofunk.
Yes, this is called Holofunk. Is the name of this whole system. So the other thing that in fact, I'm also going to start recording myself. Hush that. So the other, let's see, where was I going with that? The other, oh yes, so now what you're looking at is the same view that I'm looking at on the screen. And so you see that my view is mirror reflected, right? It's like a regular Kinect game where you look at it and you see yourself as if in a mirror. But that's not the view that the audience sees by default, because that's not, that doesn't look like me. You want to see the same version of me that the camera is seeing. And so there's actually 2 video outputs from this, and they're displaying mirror reflected versions of the same image. So this is the one that I see, and then, let's see, put that back to, now you can see that that's, kind of the picture of me from your viewpoint. So the idea here is that this is supposed to be a performance system, and I want to get it to the point where it's rock solid. I want to have it at Decibel Festival. I ultimately want this to be a Kinect for Windows application that people can buy. But there's about a year's worth of work before I really get to that point. This is still kind of only pre-alpha, although Dane has seen this for like the last 2 years as it's been going through different iterations with the first Kinect. Although Dane has seen this with the first Kinect 2 years as it's been going through different iterations with the first. You can see that down, it gets one thing that's also nice about this is you have to kind of embrace the unknown, It's like gesture recognition is not perfectly reliable, so you just have to make it easy to like undo whatever horrible thing the thing mistakenly does. So let me, that's pretty much all the features that I have in there right now. And I do have another headset. What I want to do now is just do a little bit of performing with it to kind of give you an idea of what it feels like to jam with it. And then I'm going to turn it open to anybody who wants to try it, and questions, answers, more beer, just whatever people would like to do. And that is the #1 glitchy spot. One other funny thing about this is that when I first started doing this, I thought that hand on the hip was going to be kind of the good way to get the pop-up menu, but it turns out to be a terrible way because people want a place to put their hands. They have to be able to rest somewhere. And if every place you put your hand means something, then suddenly it's like totally uncontrollable and you have no idea why it's doing that. So I've tried to make it so you keep your hands below your shoulders and nothing happens, basically. Everything down here is kind of the neutral zone. So let me turn this up a little bit in tempo. I don't actually have pitch shifting in here yet, but I want to at some point soon. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Let's see if this works. Clear loop effects. There. Didn't want to make that quiet. And let me make this a little louder too. What? Oh yeah, what's the audience view? Good idea. There we go.
Getting a little bit of static in there too. I'll have to fix that. That one doesn't really sound that good, does it? Also, if you mute something twice, then it gets deleted completely. So you can actually edit things right out. Oh, fix that effect on my side there. So what I have there is I have a 4-beat loop. A couple little modalities I gotta work on. Make that a little more quiet. Make all these loud again. And so, what this is really what this is really kind of intended to be is sort of like finger painting with sound. You know, I'm trying to make it where you can add more sounds in on top of each other, and the latency is low enough that they fit seamlessly, so you can just kind of layer this thing very improvisationally. And that's really the ultimate goal of this, I think, is to make this something that becomes very easy to get lots of sound out of your head almost instantly. Inspired by Beardy Man. If you don't know Beardy Man, look up Beardy Man online. Amazing UK beatboxer, the inspiration for this whole project. Thank you very much.